Welcome to Xbox Corner, my name is Alex. Today we're taking a look at High on Life on the Xbox Series X and S, and this one a new game from the creator of Rick And Morty. But can they deliver a first-person shooter action-adventure with their trademark sense of humour? Well, that's what we're here to find out, so hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, Game Pass breakdowns and graphical comparisons weekly, and let's get started. If you are thinking about grabbing High on Life then, or maybe you need Game Pass membership, consider using cornershop.gg for discounted credit. You'll get 10% off at checkout using code CORNER, and that is instant delivery via email. Story then, and the opening of the game, we are on Earth and it's invaded by an alien cartel with a mission of overtaking the location, all basically so they can get high off of humans. It turns out we are absolutely smokable, and what follows a mission to take down this army, save your loved ones and perhaps even the galaxy along the way. It's basically an intergalactic adventure that takes you to multiple different planets, all in the name of being a hero. Along the way then as well, we'll meet a group of talking guns that also, let's say, share your passion for the mission. I really enjoyed the narrative. It's completely immature, and understandably so given the creator being a co-creator of Rick and Morty. But you know what, sometimes you just need something that's, simply fun, and that's exactly how I felt with this one. It's full of bad language, and I'm talking non-stop here. There's vulgar jokes and some seriously unique characters. The guns, they were a particular highlight for me, but should they start to annoy because they do talk a whole lot, they even included an option in the menu to dial back how often they can talk. That was a smart move to appeal to those that may find it all to be a bit too much. There's also a particularly funny and satisfying conclusion to this one, but again, no spoilers here in this review. Gameplay wise then, I've seen mentions of Metroidvania, and I would not go that far at all with this. This is not one big open world, rather you have a hub location and let's say 5 or so planets to get out there and explore. The action is linear, however, and that includes the locations, and the only real tie, it's the concept that some locations have, I guess, small open areas, and they'll also then require a few upgrades to proceed. Some of these are given in the game itself from characters around you, others you'll be purchasing at a store. These upgrades though, everything from the ability to dash to a jetpack to the option to slide, and that is just the beginning. The gunplay control-wise though, it feels old school, something for me that, it felt like it came straight out of the Xbox or 360 era. We have just movement, shoot and duck. It's just fast-paced, so often brainless, and there's very little in the way of intelligence from your opposition. This is rather a game that throws waves at you and chooses to simply, try to overwhelm you rather than outsmart you. What I like though, the gunplay, the weapons provide multiple options and upgrades. That definitely feels modern. A knife that allows us to use a zip wire, a gun that slows down time, one with exploding bullets, another that fires its own children to chow down on an enemy or two. Basically, they have a primary function, a secondary, and even occasionally a third. For me, where High on Life succeeds the most, it's not the action-packed first-person shooting, but rather, it always makes every gun feel important due to the way they actually tie into exploration. You have no choice essentially other than to experiment. An example of the shotgun fires blades, and these can actually be leveraged as platforms. They feel good as well in hand, they pack different cooldown times and reload speeds, and generally, there's a weight that feels right to that fire rate. Navigation then, it's really a combination of exploration, finding a loot along the way thanks to chests that you can stab, and then that gunplay. I wouldn't say the levels are entirely linear, as I said, small open sections, but it's always very easy to understand where you need to go. In fact, the game's not out to slow you down at all. Tapping up on the D-pad, it gives you a handy waypoint on screen. That said though, I will make my first complaint around this, and that is, it disappears from the screen frustratingly quickly, and you will find yourself often just tapping it constantly. My favourite thing of all in the exploration though, it's the references, the characters, the extra knowledge that you're going to generally gain. You see, often there's NPCs from a little drummer boy to a construction crew to Care Bear, almost like characters, and they just add so much, and if you give them a chance, it really can roll with the humour where you're least expecting it. I wouldn't say those jokes, however, always land. In fact, honestly, a lot didn't for me, but I do feel, at a minimum, they added value to simply building upon the location, and again, if you choose to, you can dial back on the gun's conversational speed. I just like the fact though, they often gave me clues, told me where I should be going, maybe even gave me some side activities to complete. On that note, actually, there's a particularly funny detective moment, by far the highlight of the experience for me. An on-screen pop-up appears thanks to your bounty hunter suit that gave me paperclip feels from the old school, Windows days for anyone old enough to remember. After around 10 hours to beat the main story as well, I was happy to see that I could still jump in and wrap some things up should I choose to. That's basically collectibles in the form of cards being that prime example of why you may want to do this, because you can always head back to previously visited locations. The boss encounters as well, there's basically 7 characters you need to hunt down, and they are mostly entertaining challenges designed to kind of push you in regards to what you've learnt this far. Again, they're not out to outsmart you. There was one that felt particularly drawn out with moments of exploration between, let's say, segments of health, felt mostly unnecessary, but yeah, again, for the most part, I did enjoy them. Problems then, well, first off, the gunplay. I did find it fun, as I said, especially as you learn more moves, but the enemies are pretty repetitive. Yellow suits hiding almost traditional looking aliens, but there's only a few really on offer. A grunt with a single eye, a couple of heavies that charge, some more natural wildlife, a drone, a support character that provides a shield, and then a tank-like. It's really kind of about it, and I do wish they evolved more as you moved on. A cool concept of the game then are warp stations. Enemies turn up on these platforms, you take them down, you can warp your own on occasion as well. You can pick up your own locations essentially, and I wish they had added just a few more in here because I think it could have been a really unique combat mechanic and great for the sense of humour as well. Would have also loved a few enemies that challenged the brain power just a little bit more. It feels like a game to simply sit back, relax and run through right now. Never really had much in the way of challenge. In fact, I died only twice on the normal difficulty, and you're going to find here a story mode, a normal mode and hard. This one, gameplay wise, it's never out to take itself seriously, and for that reason it just feels kind of incredibly fast paced and entertaining. In fact, I thought this one was at its best when it wasn't pushing a direction on me, but rather simply letting me explore and uncover more. If anything, my main feedback would be, open up this world more, let us do more of that exploration without the hand-holding. Generally, I had fun though, and it's for sure unique. Graphically then, it's just okay. I don't think it's great. First off, you may notice in my footage the pre-release build has a noticeable stutter during the character interactions and some minor glitches. The latter didn't bother me. It's going to happen in nearly all games. Occasionally ragdoll physics kicked in. I had a character that got stuck on the environment ahead of me, but I took them down quickly. On a couple of occasions as well, I had enemies that I couldn't hit because hitboxes on the environmental objects they were using, for cover, they were off. These things are quick and easy to resolve. The main issue I had in this pre-release was the cutscenes. That's purely narrative, but they do go really strange, almost think like a stutter. Fortunately though, they did let me know it's going to be fixed up in a day one, maybe the day after release patch. The worlds look good though, as do the characters. The thing for me is it's just a lack of polish almost. As textures, they almost feel somewhat low, and the inhabitants, a few of the character designs are a little repetitive. Animation wise as well for these NPCs, a little basic, not much in the way of movement. Then there's also some notable repetition from place to place. Thankfully though, where it does win, visual references and the guns. They are incredible looking, and when you're going at fast pace, it's very hard to pick up on the flaws. One thing I would love to see though right now, the motion blur, it is aggressive. You can have it turned on or off. When you turn it off, I don't know, it just didn't feel right to me, so they need something more in the way of a slider so we could dial this back just a little bit. Audio finally, and the voice acting top quality, even if 90% of the characters sound like, of course, Rick and Morty. They've packed it full of dialogue though, and while Sherlock jokes may miss, it goes a long way to still establishing personality. The music, it's fun enough though, I wouldn't call it particularly memorable, honestly. And then the sound effects, some nice and heavy effects in here. I particularly enjoyed enemies, even if they do repeat quite often. It just kind of reinforces, what a good job you were doing of killing them. So the final verdict, and honestly the choppy cutscenes that I've seen with or without them, my score it remains the same, and come you watching this review, it should be resolved if not at time of release then very shortly after. I had fun though. That is probably the biggest compliment I can give this one. I think it will split audiences though out there, you know, an old school almost feeling arcade shooter with an often random sense of humour and simplistic enemy design that charge on sight and do little to protect themselves. Sometimes though, simple and fun, not a bad thing, between some creative boss encounters, creative set of weapons, some good locations, and yeah, generally a good narrative, it had me hooked. Today, a good 7 out of 10 from me, and hopefully they get it cleaned up and then look into following it up, because for the right audience, I think they'd definitely be happy to see more of these characters. Will you be checking out High on Life then? Let me know in the comments below. With that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, Game Pass breakdowns, and graphical comparisons weekly, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.